Ladies and gentlemen, now we will continue with architect Vakhtang Davitaia from Georgia. Architect Vakhtang Davitaia is president of the Union of Architects in Georgia from 1995 to 2000, president of the Forum of Architects of the Black Sea region from 1997 to 2000, academician of the International Academy of Architecture 1994, academician and board member of branch of International Academy of Architecture in Moscow 1991, foreign member of Russian Academy of Architecture and Building Sciences, foreign member of the Ukraine Academy of Architecture, academician of Engineering Academy of Georgia 1996, member of the Committee of State Prizes for Literature, Art and Architecture 1992 to 2007, member of the Board of Ministry of Culture of Georgia from 1996 to 1999, member of Professors Council of GTU from 1995 to 2005, member of Professors Council of State Academy of Fine Arts of Tbilisi 1995 to 2005. Ladies and gentlemen, architect Vakhtang Davitaia from Georgia.
Dear colleagues, I do not know any other person who has done so much for architecture as Georgy Stoilov. Sadly, the science and technology are still powerless to estimate that the Sophia INTERARCH have brought to architecture as well. Dear Georgy, you are the inspirer of these events. I am very proud that for 35 years I was at your side. I am optimist, but we are not so young. This might be our last meeting. Let me express gratitude on behalf of myself and Georgian architects. Dear colleagues, dear President Amadeo, I would like to propose that the highest prize of the future INTERARCH, the Grand Prix, be named after Georgy Stoilov. The INTERARCH made Bulgaria not only a place for architectural celebrations, but a second homeland for many architects. I am one of these architects. And for this, thank you again, dear Georgy. It's quite different to speak after Richard England, and I decided today to show 25 minutes movie about Davitaia. Thank you. It will be my symbolic account report to Academy.
Damamთავრე
საქართველოს პოლიტექნიკური ინსტიტუტი არქიტექტურის სპეციალობით 1000
I graduated from the Polytechnic Institute of Architecture in 1958. I worked for 4 years in the Institute of Design of the city, in the city planning workshop. During these 4 years, I participated in the development of various general plans, and in 1962, I was offered to continue my studies as postgraduate student. Of course, I eagerly accepted, and I was surprisingly happy with the amount of attention my former teachers devoted to me. I was intensely working on thesis, and it was almost ready for defense. At this time, the architecture faculty came up with an idea to unite all the project and scientific research into one project scientific bureau, and I was appointed as the head of this project. This bureau had existed for 25 years, and I think these were really fruitful. Of course, the project bureau had its position. It was regionalism. Regionalism was based not on material, but on the spiritual culture, mood, atmosphere, mentality, nation psychology, folklore, and so on.
ფსიქოლოგიას, ფოლკლორს და ასე შემდეგ. რა არის ბოლოს და ბოლოს რეგიონალიზმი?
So finally, what is a regionalism? Regionalism, this is certainly not just a style that has beginning and the end. Regionalism is a viewpoint and position that is variable in time and space and renewable. Regionalism is not characterized with a stylistic universality and borders, integrity of architectural and artistic principles. Regionalism is access to the world of natural culture and mentality. Regionalism is a new understanding of century-old experience of country and people.
Mesti's historical-ethnographic museum.
Mesti's Historic Ethnographic Museum project is based on associations and reminiscences of the Svaneti's unique tower-based architecture. There are only hints about the historical heritage. The Village Hunter is a museum of flora and fauna of Georgia. It resembles remote mountain villages of Shatili, Omalo, and Ushkuli in Georgia. Khevsureti villages, Biso and Kakhmati, are interpretation of traditional Khevsurian home that developed terraced with 2 or 3 levels. Bread factory in Tbilisi. Industrial technological objects are globalistic in their essence. They have no meaning of place. We brought ethnographic, exhibition and trading functions into common compositions. Administrative Cultural Trade Center in Tsongori, built in 1986, is a distant association of the villages of western Georgia, with the 4 sloped houses. Horse riding tourism base in Bethany. Of course, the core part of its environment is the context of the nature, its natural background, which fills the view with hills and high mountains far in the back.
საქართველოს ისტორია არის თავდაცვის ისტორია.
History of Georgia is a history of defense. We were always attacked from all the directions. This established a tradition of keeping close to each other in the Georgian nation, which was conditioned by a number of necessities. It also established some rules of coexistence. A good example of this is the traditional Tbilisi country yard. People with different languages, different religions live in harmony as one big family. The example of this could be found in one of our first Palace of Culture in Poti. In the structure of this place, we introduced intermediate spaces, the openings that connect to the outside world. The Historic Ethnographic Museum of Abkhazia. First and second floors are also open. Spaces are interconnected, and this area entirely belongs to the whole city, not just the building. then the individual dwellers' quarters of Paliastom in the city of Poti. In this settlement, we have created a free space between parcels, full of green, filled with small architectural forms, free of transport and absolutely safe. Administrative Cultural Trade Center of Hornabi village is equipped common rule administrative and cultural shopping center for 600 families living nearby. Two internal yards are differentiated and perform different functions, while the space is united. Vajas World, the poetry house in Tbilisi. This project is presented in two variants, and the organism evolves around the inner country yard, which is a collective gathering place. We have used similar solutions for the Tatsminda Cultural Center in Tbilisi, 200-person hotel in Tbilisi, and also on the territory of Hippodrome, and building covered with the glass on the difficult terrain in Tbilisi. In our projects, the road is not just a road for transport or pedestrians. It's primarily proposed for the meeting and communicating with people. This principle was first used in Bakuriani Atoll, on the Sunny Valley. The whole first floor is allocated to various public functions here. It is a place where people are always crowded, and at the same time it's an artery that leads us to the public places. The same principle is implemented in the Nakalakevis Mamleological Sanatorium complex. The whole complex here is a group of buildings bound on the road. In one place, the road crosses the building, then goes into the bridge over the river, crosses the sanatorium complex on the first floor, and passes through the yard. One of the leading activities of my professional activity was monuments, memorials, and small architecture. Everything started in 1964, when the union competition on the memorials of the Caucasus defenders was announced. After that, I had a 40-year-long partnership with the great Georgian sculptor Elguja Amasukheli. Many monuments and memorials have been created together. In this context, I would like to mention my work with the other sculptures, but the topic of monuments and memorials is very sensitive. Monuments and memorials are responsible not only for the environment, but also for the people and the country. They change the environment, the city's landscape, and the new artwork and meaning are attributed to the city. The architecture, like a theater and the cinema, is a collective art. I worked with many architects and sculptors. For a long time with some of them and with small episodes with others. My and Shota Bastanashvili's, my former students' collaboration, has lasted for 20 years. We have created a number of buildings and memorials together. I had fruitful creative cooperation with Giuli Gegelia, Tengiz Gogolashvili. We have been working with the sculptors for years and have created various memorials with Vaja Melikishvili and in recent years Merab Berzanishvili. a great Georgian sculptor with a nickname Michelangelo. Of course, the 60 years, I have been working with many architects. In the early period, with Oleg Ochikovani, with Nanuli Tevzadze, with my former student, Nodar Jashiashvili, Merav Gugunava, Vaja Orbeladze, Temur Ekviashvili, and others. I am categorically against the narrow specialization, and it concerns not only the architecture. The architect should be able to perform any kind of job, such as city planning, village planning, industrial complex, engineering, building, village, individual house, monument, memorial, or interior. Therefore, the well-known architects are good at the city planning as well as making industrial buildings and monuments.
모누멘트 졌을 것 같아.
I work in town planning, public buildings, village object design, monuments, memorials, small architecture is also a big part of my work. And I can name a few projects from city planning sites, one of which was the Riga district. Riga is a natural stage in Tbilisi. Riga is a major stage of a theater called the city, so architecture can never be frozen in time here. I had similar attitude towards Riga, how to organize the space of the ever-changing architectural environment. In all cases, there was a well-developed underground space, which provided absolutely everything from catering, trade facilities, gyms and children rooms. Absolutely everything was lit from top, so the whole city was developed under the ground. Only the change was about the upper spaces. The second big project was so-called Gateway of the Capital that I dedicated to Georgia's independence. It earned a great admiration and excitement among people, including the architects, and I tried to devote this project, which I called the Gateway of City, to the unique moment for the country and the people, which was the restoration of independence, which implies architectural refurbishment of the airport highway. There were also other urban plots. It was very interesting for us, Shota Bostanashvili and me, to work on the reconstruction of plateau at the Baratishvili Street. We approached this project really carefully, as it had really different, interesting and unexpected architectural themes. The design of the forest of Maltava in the city of Poti. It was an interesting project with a lot of small architectural shapes, walking paths and sports grounds. I would like to emphasize the competition project of the Batumi Coastal Park, together with architect Gogolashvili, which was a very important contest with very interesting ideas. We also took part, and we had some expectations that this project would be highly appreciated. Teaching has been one of my major occupations for over 60 years. I was not only training students as a future architects, but I was very careful to observe their behavior and motivational dynamics in time. Students of my period were much better at learning the requested program. Today's YAS has more access to information, but it does not find expression in their knowledge. In recent years, I often use the word directing instead of designing. They definitely have some similarities, but directing has different requirements. It's more artistic, and I often say that we need more scenography and more incompleteness. There are obviously topics where we continue to insist on regionalism. respect for natural culture. And I can tell you that the pedagogic experience is very facilitating for the professional growth, because the teacher must always be aware of what is happening in the world today.
საქმის კურსი რა ხდება დღეს სამყაროში. ვის თვლი მასწავლებლად?
I'm often asked the question, who is my teacher? My answer is everybody and nobody. I'm a disciple of my time. Generally speaking about the countries, I respect the Japanese architecture. Amongst them, I'm very close to Kisho Kurokawa, Arata Isozaki, Kiyonari Kikutake, Kimiya Yokoyama. I have special sympathy for Aldo Rossi, Richard England, Hans Hollein, Anthony Predok, Ricardo Rigoretta, Teodoro Gonzalez, De Leon, and of course Alvar Aalto. Architects from whom the modernity is combined with the soul of the place, nationality. I appreciate the Italian architects of the 1980s and their searches for the regionalism.
რეგიონალიზმის მიმართულებით. რა არის ბოლოს და ბოლოს არქიტექტურა?
So finally, what is an architecture at the end? Architecture is a way to give happiness and excitement to the people, and there is no need for further deepening into this subject, reaching to its functional or technological details. I have already lived for 8 decades. Sometimes people ask me, do I have the same enthusiasm and inspiration as when I was young? But suddenly I quickly remember the history. Frank Lloyd Wright passed away 92 years old. Undervee at the age of 83. Philip Johnson lived for 99 years. Le Corbusier 78 and Oscar de Meyer 105 years. And I can tell you, these people were still pretty young. I appreciate the architects who achieve the mood, emotions, admiration and surprise, not with compositional tricks, but with an architectural logic. Venture in many fields of art is allowed and accepted, but not in the architecture. Architecture cannot be a lie. It has eternal fundamental laws. Once these laws are violated, it changes from architecture to other fields of art, mostly visual art. The architecture of the future will not be the architecture of the style, but the architecture of philosophy, the architecture of the individual. In the world architecture, it is the era of tricks. The main aim is the strangest, making people surprised. Architecture has fallen out of the Genesis, and it's gaining unlimited freedom of art. For a moment, let's imagine the Sagrada Familia without its author's caprices. Nothing would be left from it. A small waterfall where the Frank Lloyd Wright has built a house, so-called house on the waterfall. If we just change the orientation of the house, we'll be left with a regular house and a tiny meaningless waterfall. It is genius in its symbiosis.
It's genialuria symbiosis.
The modern architecture is primarily the evolution of the space. The hand does not just do something, it thinks. Architects, artists and sculptors can even think with their fingers. There is a certain connection between the brain and the hand. In the contrast to the cinematography and the play, where the quality of the work is completely dependent on the interpreter, actor and director, and you cannot predict anything in advance there, in architecture, the success can be predicted with up to 100% probability. For this, you have to be a professional architect, but not just a functional.
Arhitectură. Monumentები, memorialები.
Monuments, memorials, as well as the architecture, is constantly affecting a person independent of their will. It is a part of the public space, and it exists together with us, within us.
ჩვენთან ერთად არსებობენ.
This is a composition I have created. It's called Bring Down the Dictatorship. It shows the result of dictators being crushed down from their high pedestals. Each of these skulls is shaped is 3 meters in diameter, and they are placed there like a pile. This memorial is devoted to innocent Georgians and Ossetians who were unintentional participants of the tragedy we saw in the 8th August War. The war started by adventurers has sacrificed the lives of many young men. This monument is dedicated to them, not only the Georgian warriors, but for everyone who died in this huge misunderstanding. He was a really big and important architect, and as they say, is a real man, visually stunning, with great personality, and a real friend. The first delegation to express condolence for his death after the tragedy of the 9th April was the Architect Union of USSR, under the leadership of its head, Yuri Platonov. He stayed there for a few days and visited almost every family and took part in all the events related to this tragedy. Nationality, traditions, the spirit of country, feeling of place. This is creative position, view and the aim. This does not come on its own. Who said that the modern architecture should not represent the local history, culture, legends and traditions? This point of view is a result of research. For me personally, paraphrasing and citation of the architectural monuments is not the way of making contact with the local history and spirit. My way of doing this is associations, reminiscence, and of course the national character and mentality.
ცხოვრება ისე ხანმოკლეა, რომ
The life is so short, it would be a terrible crime to spend it meaninglessly, to spend even 1 day or 1 minute standing on your knees. Protecting the truth was always higher priority for me than the personal interests. It's always harder to evaluate your own contribution, while it's comparatively easy to do it for others. It's hard for me to judge my own work, but on the other hand, I have ability to look at myself from the other person's perspective. But there is one thing I could say. In that political, economical, and social situation, and with the abilities and talents that I was given, I did the best I could. Wealth and popularity have never been my aim, and if I got any of that, that was just a consequence.
რაიმე ამ დაგვარი გამაჩნიებს მხოლოდ შედეგია. სამშობლო არ არის მხოლოდ
Motherland is not just a comforting environment or just a calm place where it is easier for you to reach success. It is much more. First of all, it is a spiritual comfort. This is a place where you are really happy, where everything is familiar and belongs to your heart, for which you feel the pain the most. For me, such a place is Georgia.
ასეთი ადგილია ჩემთვის საქართველო. ოქროს თევზი რო ამოყვეს ბადეს,
If I was lucky to catch a golden fish, I would have just one wish to ask. When you look at our planet from the space, it seems calm, endless, and peaceful. I want the reality to be just like this.
გახადოს რეალობად.